Month, God really convicted me of something. And when we're convicted, sometimes we don't really take it too well. But in my short 25 years of living, I've come to the point where it's useless questioning God and arguing with him because he's going to win anyways. And God told me, he said, do not make the mistake of thinking that you're ambitious and that you're purpose-driven, that you are fulfilling the call. Nothing is wrong with being ambitious. Nothing is wrong with being driven. But if your purpose and your ambition does not fulfill the sake of the cause, then all it is fulfilling your selfish propaganda. Because if we do not implement the talents and skills that God gives us to reach this lost and hopeless world, then really what's the point of putting on the label of a Christian? I ask myself, Demetrius, what are you doing for the sake of the cause? Because the cause doesn't stay in the church, but it makes itself visible to a lost and dying world. Because if people can't see Jesus in me, then all I am is a popular and well-liked figure who is abandoning the cause. Somebody say the cause is greater than our humanity. Let's take a look at what Christianity really is. Is it a term or is it a lifestyle? Is it merely a section at a local bookstore or is it the passion of the church? What does it mean to be Christ-like? What does it mean to be the hands and the feet of Jesus? Is Christianity something that exists on a religious calendar, or is it everyday practice? I can wear I love Jesus on t-shirts and hats, but is it in my heart? You know, I remember growing up, and my mom used to teach me how to do intercessory prayer and pray for the lost, pray for the poor, pray for those who have left the church. And it got to a point in time, I didn't see results. And I told Mom, I said, I'm tired of praying for the same old thing. I'm tired of reaching out to people who are not going to reach back. And so many of us may wonder or struggle with the thought, how long must I pray for so-and-so? How long do I have to reach out to my community? And here's the answer. Until the trumpet sounds. And unless me and you are walking on the streets of gold, and unless we are about to walk through the pearly gates, the mission is an ongoing mission, and there is no retirement. The cause is much greater than our humanity. It's much greater than the emotion. It's much greater than a feeling. Plenty of times you can feel happy, but all it takes is one thing that can make you sad or make you angry. But see, when you're dedicated to the cause, you realize that you're not in it for personal gain. When you're dedicated to the cause, it's not about what makes you happy. When you're dedicated to the cause, it's not about if you're feeling up or if you're feeling down. But if you're dedicated to the cause, it's about making an impact on somebody's life. The cause is not natural, but it is supernatural. We're flesh, but the cause is led by his Spirit. I would like for everyone from the age of 12 to 35 to please stand. If you are 12 to 35, please stand. My message to you in this current time, in this current generation, is to lead, not follow. There are enough imposters. There's enough fakes. There are enough generics. There's enough knockoff brands. But if you're going to lead, and if you're going to be the voice that this generation so desperately need, you need to be authentic, you need to be original, and you need to be legit. You are the salt of the earth. And I would say I respect my elders. I respect those who have paved the way for us. But if we're going to reach this generation, it is going to take you. You are the voice of this generation. And you are more talented, you are more skilled, you are more passionate than people in previous generations. But I'm talking to myself, just a word of caution. If you do not use your talents and your skills and your abilities to reach this lost generation, then this generation and ourselves will die. You may be seated. In the beginning of the month of February, we all knew of the events that was going on in Egypt. And if anyone really paid attention, this calls for democracy in Egypt started on Facebook. This calls for a change of regime. This calls for a change in scenery in Egypt started on a social network site. When the young people of Egypt realized that enough was enough, and they forced their own president to resign. Facebook. Facebook was so popular. Facebook was so present that an Egyptian young man named his young newborn daughter Facebook. Because of the impact that Facebook had in the revolution in Egypt. If Facebook can spark a revolution in Egypt and can force Hosni Mubarak to resign from his presidency, what would happen if those from the age of 12 to 35 sparked a spiritual revolution to this current generation? I am totally convinced that evil will no more reign. I am totally convinced that these altars will be filled and that there will be no room to sit. If we really dedicated our lives to the cause. You know, it's amazing when the country is involved in war. And coming from a military family, I have the utmost respect for those who are in the armed forces fighting for our freedoms. And it amazes me, especially since we have soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. You hear many people say that they're fighting for the cause of freedom, and they are. But what people really don't know is that freedom comes with a sacrifice. The cause that is greater than humanity will come with a sacrifice. It's greater than yourself. It's greater than what you can imagine. It may cost you to lose some friends. It may cause your family members to talk about you. But if you're doing it for the kingdom of God, you have to remember that it's not about you in the first place. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. That is the cause. Jesus is the cause. He says, for upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. In Joel, he tells us, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Sons and daughters will prophesy. Old men will dream dreams. Young men will see vision. Because once God has implemented the cause, it is going to come to pass with or without us. And once again, if people can't see Jesus through me, that I am simply living with no substance. It's like having a commodity with absolutely zero value. In John chapter 4, there's a story of when Jesus went through Samaria. Samaria, the capital city of the northern kingdom of Israel. Samaria, you would say, was not the most holy place, because in Hosea it tells us about the idolatry, the immorality, the idol luxury, and the oppression of the poor that went on in that city. And one thing about it, Jews and Samaritans did not get along at all. There was a constant conflict. They were two totally different people. And Jesus, on his way to Galilee, said, I must needs go through Samaria. It doesn't really matter how wicked or evil a place can be. Jesus can touch anybody. Because Jesus was about the cause. I would encourage us today. We'll come in contact with people who do not think like us, look like us, act like us. But it really shouldn't matter, because the cause is greater than our humanity. The cause is greater than the United Pentecostal Church. The cause is greater than any religious organization. Because if we go in there with a religious concept, we are no greater than the Pharisees and Sadducees. But unless we reach them with the love of God. Stand to your feet. I'm going to close with this story. It was October of 2004. And I am, if anybody knows me very well, you know I am a huge, huge baseball fan. And the Boston Red Sox were down 3-0 in the American League Championship Series against their rival, the New York Yankees. All the Yankees had to do was win one more game to reach the World Series. Well, Game 4 came around. Boston won.